Okay, guys. So we're gonna go simply through this little notion that I created with you guys, and then we're gonna go ahead and show you live time example. But this is going through my entire entry model that's just been stupid. So you guys are aware of my whole double shield ideology that I came up with, mixing OTE levels with order blocks. I found a more effective way because it was missing one thing, right? I was taking pretty much every model that presented itself, and that was pretty stupid, or with trend at least. That was pretty stupid, but still produced me a lot of profit. But this week, I have been adding in a high time frame confirmation, and you guys will know what that is. If you guys, I mean, it's literally an inversion of the highest time frame of the manipulational leg, but I'll get into it later. But I want you guys to refer back to this a lot of the times. We have valid deliveries. We're going to go over these. I'm just going to go ahead and delete these real quick. And because they're a little complex and they're still in the beta, just kind of things I've been noticing. And I want to find more efficient ways as to where it will work majority of the time, instead of kind of putting you guys on with some bullshit. Anyways, this is what I know works. This is an amazing model. This has actually been stupid and game-changing. Most of you guys will find that it will be game-changing for you guys as well. But the biggest thing I want you guys to take note with is this time frame rule book. Okay, a lot of you guys are aware of the inversion model. I go further into depth on a more precise entry using inversions. But I want you guys to refer to this because this is going to be a huge thing you guys are going to have to put into account when it comes to this model. Okay, so if we get an hourly inversion as our confirmation, we're looking for a 30-minute order block to align. Okay, and most of the time, I'll show you guys, but I call it a quarter two entry. And you guys will refer back to that later on, is when we have a higher time frame, I'd say one of these three time frames here. Let me tell this shit. Make yellow. Anyways, when we have one of these three time frames here, we're going to look for a lower time frame tap and then a recurrent, or pretty much my entry model to be present on that lower time frame. So literally just like a re-entry using the exact same time frame. But anyways, so step one, right? Step one of the model is we're going to be searching for an inversion of the highest time frame of a manipulation. Okay. We have valid delivery, so we know where it should be manipulating into. These are ideas for you. And once we get a valid delivery coming from that and the highest time frame inversion of the manipulation, which I'll get into later, that's when we get confirmation on the lower time frame that we're going to continue a higher time frame trend. Okay. That's the whole, industrial price direction. That's the whole thing that goes with it, is if we're going to have a retracement leg, how can we catch the distribution after? Well, the answer to that is we look for the highest time frame highest time frame confirmation that we're reversing price, going towards the higher time frame. So then we can catch the distributional leg going to external liquidity. That was really confusing. I'm sorry. I'm like stuttering like a bitch too. But anyway, so we look for the inversion and then we're going to mark out the inversion leg with OTE. Okay. That's the second thing we do. And we're going to follow every single high until we start trailing back into these internal levels. And an important thing to note is the highest wicks body is where you're going to anchor this zero. Okay, highest wicks body. All right. Then we're going to wait for a tap into an order block mixed in with those levels. And that's where we're going to go ahead and refer to my time frame rule book, which is if we have a 5-minute inversion, we're looking for a 3 or 2-minute order block that's going to line up with one of these internal levels, and we will take the internal level that's aligned with it. Secondly, if we have a 4-minute or below, we're going to look for a 1-minute order block. If we have a 15-minute inversion, we're looking for a 5-minute order block. If there's a 30-minute inversion, we're looking for a 15-minute order block, and an hourly, and we're looking for a 30-minute, and that's where we're going to stop it. 4 hour, if we're following the same methodology, it's either going to be a 2 hour or 1 hour, but that's generally like too high for my liking. But anyways, like a perfect example of this is literally at this pivot high, we have an hourly inversion that's set up here, which is the highest time frame of that manipulational leg. The manipulation leg I'm referring to is this big old white fucking candle right here, or move up to create that high. Boom. This is kind of a shitty example because there was a low created internally, and then we ended up sweeping that high. But if we're looking at our pivots, this won't matter too much, and we get validation of this anchoring and I'll tell you how. So anyways, let me mark this out with you guys. So when we get this inversion here on that hourly time frame, there it is. We're going to mark our anchoring at the high to the inversion leg's lowest wicks body until we start trailing back into internal levels. We start trailing back into internal levels, and when this is an hourly inversion, we're going to look for a 30-minute order block. Okay, so one thing to note, guys, if we have a breaker and order block mixed in with each other, a lot of the times I am going to take the, I'm going to take the level that's engulfed by it. So boom, it would be 705 in this instance. It's the first level that's engulfed. And then generally I'm going to go to the high created with the breaker and order block. Since this is high time frame, that rule is, you're not going to see as beautiful a respect as you would on the lower time frame, and that's where we get into the whole quarter two. Like, you're not going to be taking this, and I'll tell you why. If you take this shit, you're risking $140, okay, with 1 micro. That's why we look for quarterly 2 entry, and so we're kind of just looking for deliverance, right? So we have the order block and the breaker mixed in, then we're getting our deliverance from that level that's been validated by the order block being mixed in with it. From this example now, since it's high time frame, we're going to go to a lower time frame to look for a quarter 2 entry. Okay, so we're going to look for the highest time frame inversion setup after we tap that level. Okay, so we tap 705, validate the fib. Boom, boom. Cool. Now we look for highest time frame inversion coming off of this. We have a 5-minute here. Boom. We mark from this high. We follow the lows created until we go and start trailing into internal. The way that you know is we're going to anchor it when 0.5 gets tapped. That's simple. Okay. Now, since this is a 5-minute inversion, we're going to refer back to my rule book. We're going to look for a 3-minute or 2-minute order block. Honestly, guys, majority of the time it's going to be a 3-minute order block that's set up on one of these levels. Okay. Cool, cool, cool. Order block right here. Boom, OB. And we'll take it from 0.5. Stops at this high here. And then you will target the levels that came from your entry. So 1.6 down here would be big time. Anyway, so that's what you're going to target. Okay, or secondly, you'll target the now validated pivots fib right here. And you will target the external levels coming from that. So 1.6 could have been a big option. But anyways, you guys see how productive this is, right? It's a pretty crazy model. That's just a higher time frame like example. That one was kind of shit. If you guys want to know like the real sauce here, I'll give you the fucking entries I took, London and New York AM here. And now, since we know this pivot's valid, this is going to be played off of later on. So that's why I was showing you guys that whole pivot thing. Anyways, cool. So let's look for deliverance or some sort of validation of these external levels now. So since it's an hourly inversion, we're going to look for 30-minute order blocks to line up. 2.25 and 2.5 lines up perfectly with this order block here. Boom, order block. And 1.6 is lining up with this order block here. Okay. Now, if you pair this in with the sessions daily profile, we know that we're setting up a age of consolidation, London manipulation, so we can take out all of this liquidity higher, right? All this fucking generated LRL. So it's pretty obvious that this is going to be our deliverance due to the fact that we have validation with an order block, a level aligning. And so what are we going to look for here? Well, simple enough. We're going to look for the manipulation leg, and I will show you guys why this one was invalid and why after we tap this OB, it did not deliver. Because it was a 15-minute fair value gap that we were looking at for an inversion, and we did not end up getting it. Okay? It did not inverse. Instead, what it did is it took the fair value gap and reswept. Now this is our valid manipulation leg here. That reswept. Boom. Perfect. And what we're going to look for is now the highest time frame fair value gap coming off of that manipulation. It is the 5-minute. Okay, I know it's the 5-minute because I took this trade, but you guys will have to go through every time frame until you find the highest time frame. Now we have an inversion here and an after. In any session that's not AM, we're going to mark wick to highest wick's body, and that's where our levels are going to be valid. Okay. Holy shit, it's so fucking laggy. Anyway, since this was a 5-minute inversion, we're looking at the 3-minute time frame. Okay, where do we have an order block that engulfs a level? Well, it's this 0.5. Okay, and guys, the order block is the last candle. If it's a huge move down, it's the last candle here. Now, in the instance where we end up breaking this high and creating a breaker block, I would be interested in looking at this order block here. But in the circumstance where we do not, I will be taking that last candle majority of the time. Or if 0.5 or the levels are lined up with one of these order block candles higher, I will be taking that one. But anyways, in this instance, we have a perfect alignment with 0.5 and this order block. I will enter at 0.5. My stops will be at the low created with this order block. And the only time I ever wouldn't do that is when we have an instance like this. If we kind of have stacked up order blocks like this, I will take whichever one has the lowest or highest high. All right. Anyways, cool. So what will I target? Well, I will target the levels 1.6 and 2.25, or even to -4 because we know we're playing with daily profile. Now, to catch the huge overnight trades, guys, you got to put your balls on the table. This was an obvious profile. We had a Asia manipulation with London, and that was setting up our reversal. So if you guys know the profile, if you guys know the daily bias, that's where you can hit these stupid trades. $25 or risking $25 to make 500. That would have been the trade of the night. Stupid. And that's exactly how you would have caught it. Okay. So anyways, cool. One more thing to note. So you're going to go break even at external liquidity. Generally, it's going to be a 5 or 15-minute high, or if it's a fair value gap, you go break even there as well. Okay. So in this instance, we had this high here. That was my break even point. Okay. Simple. Cool. Or even this external high, because that was internal. So you could have even went break even here. That would have been beautiful. So anyways, that's literally how you use the model. I'll show you guys an example now from that AM trade I took going into AM session. Okay. And what I'm going to do here is this. Okay. And by the way, these, I'm not going to be looking for any sort of play off of that standard deviation entry due to the fact that we invalidated it by breaking through -4. If we break through -4 or 4.5, 4.5 especially, that anchoring is now invalid and we have no reason to play back to it. Okay, simple. Fuck. Anyways, cool. Okay, we can use, here we go. We can use, this isn't anything to do with my model, but this isn't kind of how I'd play it. Well, let me see. What was the highest time frame inversion? It's 30-minute. So we're looking for a 15-minute order block to align with one of these levels. Yeah, 15-minute order block. Okay, and New York AM, you're always going to mark wick to wick on shit. So we have this order block here, lining up with standard deviation. Like, that's how you validate it, boys. Standard deviation is valid when it aligns with a proper time frame order block. Okay, so, well, you'll refer to my rule book to find out what is proper. But anyways, cool. So we have our valid delivery. What are we looking for now? The highest time frame for value gap coming off of that manipulation, this 15-minute. Okay, since this is super high time frame, you can take this tap. I don't care. If you want to take the tap, take the tap. But anyways, in AM session, we go wick to wick. Then we're looking for 5-minute. This is the reason why I didn't, because if we have a 15-minute inversion, I'm looking for a 5-minute order block to line up with a level. Well, it did line up with a level. However, we did not reach that point. When we delivered from, I am now going to look for now, this being a new manipulational leg, the highest time frame for value gap, that was inversed coming off of that. It was this motherfucker right here, the 2-minute inversion. Okay, boom, we mark from this high to wick low. Now, since it was a 2-minute, we're looking for a 1-minute order block. to be lined up with noisy levels, 0.5. And the beautiful thing is we also have a breaker block mixed in. Boom, OB, okay? And the reason why this last candle here wouldn't be my point of interest is because it doesn't line up with the level. You guys heard me say that last candle, or actually I don't remember. It's like the third take now. I don't know if I said it, but most of the time when we have a series of candles, I'm going to be looking at the last one. But in this instance where there's a breaker and there's a lot of reason holding us down here, even a CISD, yes, I am looking at this. And so I take my entry at 0.5, this internal level here, and I'm simply going to put my stop at this breaker high. Most of the time I'm going to be putting it at the breaker high, okay? If there's a breaker present. So this breaker high. Cool. And that was literally, like, I explained it in the other video, but that was like the dumbest fucking trade I ever took. And we're going to go ahead and take this 15-minute inversion. So if we're delivering and we're taking a quarter to entry, so we're taking entry off the tap and then more validation, you're going to be using the higher time framed fib because you've now validated this fib as well as this fib. But anyway, so 1.6 is what you target, right? And yeah, there's a lot of instances where stupid fucking RR trades happen just like this, and that's a perfect example. So yeah, there's the whole thing there. The only time you're going to be looking for quarter two is when you have a 15-minute, 30-minute, or hourly break. If you have a 5-minute, 5-minute or below, you're not going to be looking for a quarter two. And then validation of delivery is going to be an order block mixed in with standard deviation. And you're going to refer back to my time book or my time. Holy shit, my my time rule book. All right, cool. Anyways, yeah, that's the whole model. Highest time frame inversion of the manipulation leg. Mark out OTE of that inversion leg. Align OBs or align an order block with that level of the proper time frame. And then you're going to target the external fib. The quarter two entries are beautiful because you now have high time frame validation and you're going to have a further extended fib. So you're going to love those ones. Anyways, cool. Yeah, there's the whole thing. There you go. That's the whole model. It's order block, standard deviation levels, internal levels, and confirmation. There you go. Simple as that. You guys do what you will. This is my third time filming this, so if I missed anything, I'm sorry. You guys won't even know that I missed anything, but if you guys are missing anything, ask me questions. I'll be there. Okay? All right. See you guys later.